Hi, and welcome to the first installment of the Hibernian Society of Utah's Evening with the Irish Poets Zoom series. I'm Sean Clark, president of the Hibernian Society, and I'm so honored to be with these incredible readers and to share these beautiful and emotion-stirring words. We have a collection of poetry for you, including works from the late Evan Boland, who passed away in 2020. Boland's work centers on Irish identity and the contributions of Irish women in history. We have poems in memorandum of those we have lost, poems that inspire hope, poems that evoke the thirst for justice, poems that strengthen the tie to our humanity. The passionate words of these Irish poets is met so skillfully by the passion of our Hibernian readers, and we are truly blessed to have both. So as we long to once again sit and bask in each other's presence, be still and listen, we are one in our experience of this beautiful part of our culture. I hope you enjoy.
Hello to all my friends in Utah. It's Father Norm Allred, 6 months today. Coming to you from Mullingar, Ireland on the 20th of March, about 5 p.m. Soft Irish light coming in through a partially clouded sky. It's a great blessing to be here, but really a great blessing to be able to talk to all of you again. And a great joy to be part of the Irish Poets event. So, the first poem, The Scholar and His Cat, Pangerban. I and Pangerban, my cat, 'tis the like task we are at. Hunting mice is his delight. Hunting words, I sit all night. Better far than praise of men, 'tis to sit with book and pen. Panger bears me no ill will, he too applies his simple skill. 'Tis a merry task to see at our tasks how glad are we, when at home we sit and find entertainment to our mind. Oftentimes a mouse will stray in the hero Panger's way. Oftentimes my keen thought set takes a meaning on its net. Against the wall he sets his eye, full and fierce and sharp and sly. Against the wall of knowledge I all my little wisdom try. When a mouse starts from its den, oh, how glad is Panger then. Oh, what gladness do I prove when I solve the doubts I love. So in peace our task we ply, Pangerban, my cat, and I. In our arts we find our bliss. I have mine, and he has his. Practice every day has made Panger perfect in his trade. I get wisdom day and night, turning darkness into light. It's a favorite poem of Joanne's because it had a white cat in it.
This is a poem called Casualty from the collected works of Seamus Heaney. It is a poem about the Troubles in the North, but it is a poem about requiem and loss. The character of the fisherman in it reminds me a lot of my brother Jack. We've lost a lot of people in the Hibernian Society this last year, and I see this as a kind of tribute to them as well. Casualty. He would drink by himself and raise a withered thumb towards the high shelf, calling another rum and blackcurrant without having to raise his voice, or order a quick stout by lifting of the eyes and a discreet dumb show of pulling off the top. At closing time would go in waders and peaked cap into the showery dark, a dole-kept breadwinner, but a natural for work. I loved his whole manner, sure-footed but too sly, his deadpan sidling tact, his fisherman's quick eye, and turned observant back. Incomprehensible to him, my other life, sometimes on his high stool, too busy with his knife and tobacco plug, and not meeting my eye, in the pause after a slug, he mentioned poetry. We would be on our own, and always politic, and shy of condescension, I would manage by some trick to switch the talk to eels, or lore of the horse and cart, or the provisionals. But my tentative art, he turned back, watches too. He was blown to bits, out drinking in a curfew others obeyed, 3 nights after they shot dead the 13 men in Derry. 13 paras, the walls said, bogside nil. That Wednesday, everybody held his breath and trembled. It was a day of cold, raw silence, wind blowing, surplice and soutane, rained on, flower laden, coffin after coffin seemed to float from the door of the packed cathedral like blossoms on slow water. The common funeral unrolled its swaddling band, lapping, tightening, till we were braced and bound like brothers in a ring. But he would not be held at home by his own crowd, whatever threats were phoned, whatever black flags waved. I see him as he turned in that bomb-defending place, remorse fused with terror in his still knowable face, his cornered, out-faced stare blinding in the flash. He had gone miles away, for he drank like a fish nightly, naturally swimming towards the lure of warm, lit-up places, the blurred mesh and murmur drifting among glasses in the gregarious smoke. How culpable was he that last night when he broke our tribe's complicity? Now you're supposed to be an educated man, I hear him say. Puzzle me the right answer to that one. I missed his funeral, those quiet walkers and sideway talkers shoaling out of his lane to the respectable purring of the hearse. They move in equal pace with the habitual slow consolation of the dawdling engine. The line lifted, hand over fist, cold sunshine on the water. The land banked under the fog that morning when he took me in his boat, the screw purling, turning indolent fathoms white. I tasted freedom with him, to get out early, haul steadily off the bottom, dispraise the catch and smile as you find a rhythm working you, slow, mile by mile, into your proper haunt, somewhere well out beyond. Dawn sniffing, revenant, plodder through midnight rain. Question me again.
There's an old Irish saying I've always loved, "O gloon go gloon, from knee to knee." It speaks of traditions passed on from one generation to the next as children learned at the knees of their parents. Just like the Irish celebrations and heritage that we learn from our parents and grandparents, the ones that we celebrate each year. Follower by Seamus Haney. My father worked with a horse plow. His shoulders glowed like a full sail strung. Behind the shafts and furrow, the horses strained at his clicking tongue. An expert, he would set the wing and fix the bright steel pointed sock. The sod rolled over without breaking at the head rig with a single pluck. Of reins, the sweating team turned round and back into the land. His eyes narrowed and angled at the ground, mapping the furrow exactly. I stumbled in his hobnailed wake, fell sometimes on the polished sod. Sometimes he rode me on his back, dripping and rising to his plod. I wanted to grow up and plow, to close one eye, stiffen my arm. All I ever did was follow in his broad shadow round the farm. I was a nuisance, tripping, falling, yapping always. But today it is my father who keeps stumbling behind me, and he will not go away.
Her name is Clarice Short, Galler's Oratory. Wordsworth's unimaginable touch of time has not touched it. The years have affected it no more than have the moist nose of cows or their rough tongues. Squat in its lush grass beyond two rock walls after 12 centuries, it still speaks with its own voice, as when in some primitive swallow-carved twilight, the gray-garbed monks bowed through its low door, and the evergreen Irish meadows murmured with a strange song.
I'm going to do a poem that William Butler Yeats wrote to to mark the Easter 1916 uprising in Dublin, Ireland, almost 105 years ago now, though he wrote it some years later. But this is Easter 1916 by William Butler Yeats. I have met them at close of day, coming with vivid faces from counter or desk among gray 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head or polite meaningless words, or have lingered a while and said polite meaningless words, and thought before I had done of a mocking tale or a jibe to please a companion around the fire at the club, being certain that they and I but lived where motley is worn. All changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. That woman's days were spent in ignorant goodwill, her nights in argument until her voice grew shrill. What voice more sweet than hers when young and beautiful she rode to harriers? This man had kept a school and rode our winged horse. This other, his helper and friend, was coming into his force. He might have won fame in the end, so sensitive his nature seemed, so daring and sweet his thought. This other man I dreamed a drunken, vainglorious lout. He had done most bitter wrong to some who were near my heart, yet I number him in the song. He too has resigned his part in the casual comedy. He too has been changed in his turn, transformed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Hearts with one purpose alone through summer and winter seem enchanted to a stone to trouble the living stream. The horse that comes from the road, the rider, the birds that range from cloud to tumbling cloud, minute by minute they change. A shadow of cloud on the stream changes minute by minute. A horse hoof slides on the brim, and a horse plunges within it. The long-legged moorhens dive, and hens to moorcocks call. Minute by minute they live, the stones in the midst of all. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, when may it suffice? That is heaven's part. Our part to murmur name upon name as a mother names her child, when sleep at last has come on limbs that had run wild. And what is it but nightfall? No, not night, but death. Was it needless death after all? For England may keep faith for all that is done and said. We know their dreams, enough to know they have dreamed and are dead. And what if excessive love bewildered them till they died? I write it out in a verse. MacDonough and McBride and Connolly and Pierce, now and in time to be, wherever green is worn, are changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born.
I'm going to read a poem from Podrick Pierce. Pierce was a multitude of things: a teacher, a barrister, poet, writer, nationalist, Republican political activist, and revolutionary, who was one of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Uprising. Following his May 3rd execution and his younger brother Willie's the next day, along with 15 others, Pierce came to be seen by many as the embodiment of the revolution. I'm going to read his poem called The Mother. I do not grudge them. Lord, I do not grudge my 2 strong sons that I have seen go out to break their strength and die, They and a few in bloody protest for a glorious thing. They shall be spoken of among their people. The generations will remember them and call them blessed. But I will speak their names to my own heart. In the long nights, the little names that were familiar once round my dead hearth. Lord, thou art hard on mothers. We suffer in their coming and their going. And lo, I grudge them not. I weary of the long sorrow. And yet I have my joy. My sons were faithful and they fought. Thank you.